And now, Free Press Watch, a segment on global journalists where each week we bring you a rundown of major events affecting press freedom around the world. I'm Lainie Mullen. In celebration of World Press Freedom Day, we're focusing today on a couple of advancements made in press freedom this year. Our news comes from the Center for International Media Assistance, the Knight Foundation for Journalism in the Americas, the Mail and Guardian, and Nieman Foundation for Journalism. A libel case against Political and Investigative Weekly in South Africa led to a landmark decision to support press freedoms in the country. The Mail and Guardian has been writing investigative stories in Johannesburg since the height of apartheid oppression in 1985. Since that time, it has also staved off its fair share of lawsuits. In 2009, Adrien Basson wrote a series about the dealings between a facilities company and privatized sectors of the prison industry. His work drew threats and eventually a lawsuit. But last week, the judge denied a request that he be forced to reveal his sources. This sets a precedent for future protection of journalist sources in the country. We spoke earlier with Nick Dawes, Basson's editor at the Mail and Guardian, about what it has been like to report with these continued legal challenges.
The Mail and Guardian, because of the nature of our journalism, because it's tough journalism, because we tell stories that people don't want told, spends a great deal of time fending off attempts to shut us up, unfortunately. Some of those attempts are fairly basic intimidation. A lot of them are attempts to use the law to quiet us, either by intimidating us with costs or by tying us up in court processes. So we've been accused of all sorts of things, ranging from obtaining information illegally to defamation and other crimes. And what that does is that it ties up a huge amount of our energy that should be spent on doing great journalism, and money that should be spent on doing great journalism in fighting these sorts of battles. Unfortunately, it also means, because we suspect that we're under a good deal of surveillance, that we aren't able to have the kind of free conversations among ourselves and with our sources that we would like to have. So that's very, very frustrating. But at the same time, the result of a lot of these challenges has been that we have been able to establish very important legal precedents that support press freedom. So almost all of these legal attempts, in fact, all of them on my watch, have failed. And in the process, the constitutional protection that's afforded to press freedom has constantly been reasserted. So the harassment for us is difficult, it's frustrating, but in general, we've been able to win out because of the independence of the courts.
Dawes spoke about the implications of press freedom changes in South Africa for all of Africa.
South Africa is seen by many people as a kind of beacon of press freedom on the African continent. And democracy arrived in South Africa at a time when there was growing democratic energy across Africa. To the extent that there are threats to press freedom in South Africa, they don't only affect me and my colleagues in this country and the quality of democracy in South Africa, they really do have an effect on the whole continent. And of course, the success of the democratic project in Africa is important to the whole world. The troubles that Africa faces are really, I think, a stain on the conscience of the whole world. So I hope that our friends and colleagues around the world will pay attention to what is happening here, and indeed to what's happening to countries to our north, where the situation is a great deal worse. And we'll see that we're all linked across borders in the challenge of upholding and defending press freedom.
In Brazil, the government has approved a law allowing regular citizens access to public information. Starting May 13, anyone will be able to get documents from city, state, and national governments and private groups that are getting public funding. Two journalists working with O Estado in São Paulo set up a blog to educate people on what they can do with the new law. We spoke with Roberto Gallo, one of the blog writers.
We're about to change from a culture of secrecy to a culture of transparency. Although it's going to take a while, it's not going to be immediate, because Brazil has been handling a culture of secrecy since the country was discovered. But you can see the government making lots of efforts in order to change that. So I think that's the main point. And when people have information empowers people. That's what I think it's going to be the most important part. It's going to change the relation between society and government. This is what I think it's going to be the most important part.
Journalists in Brazil still face troubles and the danger of violence in the country, but strides have been made toward press freedom in the last year since President Dilma Rousseff has been in office. People are increasingly using social media to fight corruption, and their efforts, along with the work of investigative journalists, have led to the firing of 5 ministers for corruption. For more information on these and other events affecting press freedom around the world, please visit our website at globaljournalist.org. Thank you for joining us this week on Global Journalist. I'm Lainie Mullen. See you next week.